Happy New Year! Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zach with Zacks Books, and today I have got my January TBR. It is 2025. I believe we're putting this up on New Year's Day. If not, it might be the day before or the day after. Regardless, Happy New Year. It is 2025. Very exciting times for all of us. So next to me I have got my TBR for the month. We will link these 5 books down below. And yeah, all that good stuff. We're trying to feed Mav, so if you hear them in the background, apologies. Also down below is the podcast, the Bookstagram, Danielle's channel, all that other fun stuff. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into the books. Alright, first one up is going to be Nick Cutter, The Queen. So I have read... Let's see, how many Nick Cutters have I gotten through? I've gotten through 3 out of the 4 that I know of that have come out besides this one. There is The Troop, which is my favorite. The Handyman Method, which is a favorite. It's actually a pretty good story. It's shorter, but it's really good. That's my second favorite. Then you have The Deep, which is kind of towards the bottom. I gave it like 3 stars. And then there is also Little Heaven, which I actually DNF'd. I did not finish that book. So... in this one, we have got what's called, this is called The Queen. Again, Nick Cutter book. It's impossible to know another person, isn't it? To step past that locked door of their secretive inner self. But honestly, do you even want to know? So, I'm very intrigued with this. I don't know if it's going to involve, like, bees or anything, just because there's a picture of a bee on the woman's face. But it's a Nick Cutter book, so, I mean... 2 out of the 3 I've actually finished have been really good. And I honestly, me personally, I haven't heard a lot about this book, like hype-wise or people really talking about it. I don't know if Danielle has or not. But this is, obviously, it's a Nick Cutter. I'm going to read this book. I really hope that I enjoy it. If you have read this book, let me know your thoughts down below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, spoiler-free, of course, please. So... yeah, there you have The Queen by Nick Cutter. Alright, next up is actually an author that was brand new to me in 2024, and I loved pretty much everything that they had written that I read that year, and that is Ben Farthing. This is It Waits on the Top Floor. So, he has a series called the I Found series, and I read everything that's been out so far. Boogeyman Under My Brother's Crib, Puppets in the Walls, A Lost Hallway and a Ball, Christmas Lights, and then A Circus Tent in My Backyard, I believe, are the ones that I've read. And I believe all of them have been 4 stars or better. So, a lot of good stuff. It's a little bit bigger in terms of, like, the size. Like, his other ones he wrote are, like, maybe half the size of this. So this will be a little bit longer. But this one, it says, a skyscraper appears overnight. A team of engineers and architects break in to reverse engineer the impossible construction. A curious 9-year-old decides there's a treasure inside and goes exploring. His terrified dad chases close behind. Inside, the facade of an empty office building is quickly shattered. Ghostly figures stalk the explorers. The walls themselves are hungry, and something is waiting on the top floor. Again, Ben Farthing. He's been a very surprise author. He was a big surprise author for me in 2024, and I loved all the stuff I read. He has more stuff out besides what I mentioned. But the I Found series so far has been one of my favorite, like, series. It's not, like, chronological. Like, it's not, like, the same people. It's different stories. So you could start with one or the other. It doesn't really make a difference. But this one, it sounds intriguing, and it's on the bigger side, like I said. So I'm excited to get to this one. So there you have It Waits on the Top Floor by... oh, Horror Lurks Beneath, Book 1. Okay, so this is part of another series then. Alright, It Waits on the Top Floor by Ben Farthing. Alright, next book up is an author that I don't believe I've read from before. And I believe this is what I'm calling the Danielle pick. And this is The Girl in Cabin 13 by A.J. Rivers. So this, again, author I don't really know. I'm going to read some of the stuff here in the back. There's a lot on the back, so I'm not trying to read all that. But I'll read the first paragraph or so. Knock, knock. When Emma finds a dead body on her porch with her name written on the dead man's hand, she uncovers a sinister clue to the mystery that has haunted her since childhood. The girl in Cabin 13 is about to find out that the dead may have secrets of their own. This is the first book in the Emma Griffin mystery series. It can be read as a standalone. Again, I don't know any of the other books in the series off the top of my head, but we'll see if I enjoy this one, and if I do, maybe I'll continue it. I don't know. But yeah, very cool stuff. I'm very excited about this one, and we'll see where it takes me. So there you have it, The Girl in Cabin 13 by A.J. Rivers. Alright, next up is probably the one I'm most anticipating for the year. And I know that's crazy me saying that in January of 2025. It's the book, honestly, it's the series that I think is going to be my favorite of the year. And I'm very excited to get into this. As of filming this, I've already read a little bit of the book, and I'm already enthralled. The Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien. I am finally going to be reading The Lord of the Rings. So obviously, this is a collection of all three books. There's The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. And I have seen the movies. It's been a very long time since I've seen the movies, so yeah. But this is a fantasy novel. If you don't know The Lord of the Rings, I don't know what you're doing with books in general, and I'm not saying that as in like you have to have read it, but not to not know what Lord of the Rings is. It's whatever. So basically, I'm going to try and do some remembering of this. So basically, there is different, like, there's like the elves, there's the dwarfs, there's man, there's all these different kind of like, you know, like races, I'll say, in Middle Earth and all this stuff. And basically there's all these rings of power that were made, and there's this one specific, like, one ring to rule them all, and it fell into the possession of a hobbit named Bilbo Baggins, and he passed it on to Frodo Baggins. And I'm trying to remember the relationship. I think it's like his nephew. I don't think it's not his son. It's like his nephew or something like that. But this ring has power, and this power is like greed. It just like makes you want the ring, and it makes like you do bad things. And it's such a really, like, the movies were phenomenal, and the books, by what I understand, are also very, very, like, enthralling, and a lot of people prefer the books over the movies. And somebody who watched the movies many years ago, I've been surprised with the books over the movies as well, The Shining. And I'm just very excited to get to this series, because a lot of people have recommended this series. I know the Lord of the Rings series, and I know that, like, it's a big series for fantasy. Like, there's like the Wheel of Time, there's, if you're a Stephen King person, there's the Dark Tower series. There's all these other series that I'm sure I probably am not remembering off the top of my head, so don't hate me. I'm not usually somebody who indulges in fantasy. But The Lord of the Rings is probably one of the biggest ones, and I am very excited to get into this. There's also a prequel called The Hobbit, which I have that, but I'm not reading that first. I'm going to read these first, and then The Hobbit. I'm really hoping I get it. I really enjoyed this series. So I know I babbled a lot about The Lord of the Rings, but it's big. So again, there's 3 books in the series: Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and Return of the King. So I'm currently reading The Fellowship of the Ring, because that's the first book. So, but yeah, there you have The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Alright, and the last book I'm going to talk about, it's not as exciting as the last book I talked about, but 2 years ago, I think it was, I read this book, honestly, in January. I did like a winter reading vlog with this, and I think Winter People and something else. And I think it's time that I reread Dreamcatcher by Stephen King. So this is a book that had kind of eased its way into my top 10, then it kind of faltered out. A lot of people do not like this book, and I think I'm one of the probably handful that really does like it. Is it flawed? Yes, but I still like it. So in this book, we're following a group of 4 friends, and their names escape me right now. I remember there being Jonesy, I think there's Dave, maybe, Beeve, Jonesy, Henry. Yeah. Beeve, Jonesy, Henry, and I can't remember the other one. But yeah, regardless, there's an It reference in this book. There's other King lore in this book. There's other stuff. I mean, this is such a good book. Like, does it take a little bit to get going? Yes, I will admit that. There's also a character named Duddits who is like, now that I say that, I'm remembering one of the reasons I don't like this. They use the R word in this book a lot, and I'm not going to say that word. But this was also early 2000s King, so like, I feel like that word, there's also a lot of weird language in Lord of the Rings already as it is, so. But yes, this book, it's flawed, it's not perfect, but I still remember really enjoying this. So basically what happens, these 4 friends go camping. I think they're on year like 14 or 15 or something like that, where they go to the same cabin, they go hunting. But this time something goes wrong. They separate into 2 different groups, and one of the groups stumbles upon a man in the woods. He's sick, he's not feeling well. All this crap happens, literally shit weasels. And all this stuff goes wrong. Military gets involved. There's all this weird stuff at the end. I don't want to dig too deep into it because I don't want to spoil anything if you're yet to read this book. But just know that this is a book that I do recommend, but knowing it's flawed. It's not perfect. And there are a bunch of Stephen King books that are not perfect. But this is one, in my opinion, that is good. And I just liked it. I liked it. What is it? SSDD or something like that? SSDD. Wow, I'm surprised I remember that. Which is same shit, different day. But yes, regardless, good book. I recommend it. And yeah, this is my King reread for January to start off the year. So we'll see how this one goes. So there you have Dreamcatcher by Stephen King. Alright, so that is my January TBR, starting off the year 2025 with honestly what I think is going to end up being my book of the year, if not series of the year. It might even be hard to pick like a favorite in these 3 books with Lord of the Rings, but I'm going to have to do it. So whatever. Also, that Lord of the Rings edition I got from my dad as like a birthday or Christmas gift a couple years ago. He just had it sitting at home, and I was just like, hey, can I have it? And he was like, sure. So yeah, exciting stuff. So that will not be linked down below, but we'll link some of these books down. We'll link these books down below if you're intrigued with any of them. And yes, if you've read The Lord of the Rings, let me know your thoughts. Obviously, keep it spoiler free. I know there are differences between the books and the movies, I should say. And yes, I am very excited to get to it. Keep it spoiler free. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on Lord of the Rings. If you think I'm going to enjoy it, if you think I'm wasting my time. I don't think I'm going to be wasting my time with this though. So regardless, I'm reading it. But yeah, there you have my January TBR. Again, these will be linked down below if you're intrigued with any of them. Also down below is the podcast, Bookstagram, Danielle's channel, all that fun stuff. And yes, without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video. Later.